Hello. In this video, I'm going to find a formula. Actually, I'm going to find two formulae for the sum of an AP, an arithmetic progression. In the last video, I've described how we can find this sum from 1 to 100. We found it by noticing that each time we pair up two terms starting from the first and the last, followed by the second and the second from the last, and so on. Each pair always added up to the same number. And once we have noticed this, all we need is to find the total number of pairs we have for the sequence. And we can find that just by taking the total number of terms, divide that by 2. So all we need is to find the total number of pairs and multiply by the sum of the first and the last term. So remember this description, because this is exactly what I'm going to do now to make a formula. Okay, now it would be easier if I just write the formulae over this do it once and then I'll write it out again more neatly without the numbers. So the first term is represented by the symbol A. So that's A plus D, the common difference, which is in this case is just 1, A plus 2D, and so on until the last term. Now in this case, the total number of terms is 100. So I'm going to make another symbol. I'm going to let n be the total okay, maybe I'll just say n be the number of terms. So in this example, that would be 100. So the last term is if I use the formula for TR, I can think about the R here as the n. Okay, if n is number of terms, n is also the ordering number for the last term. So first term, second term, and so on until the number 100 term, or the nth term. So that would be my Tn. Okay, so that term would actually be Tn. And using this formula for the R term, I can write out, I can just replace the R by n to get the nth term. So that would be A plus n minus 1 D. Okay, so that would be the formula for the last term. Now another symbol which we can also use to represent the last term is simply by calling the last term L. Okay, if I just let the last term be L, the last term. So I have yet another symbol here. Okay, so now coming back to this my first example, what I did, as I said, was to add the first and the last term. So that's the first term, and that's my last term, L. So I add the first to the last term to get 101. And then that's my 101 here. This is my last term. And then I had to oh no, wait, that's the a plus l here. And then I had to take the total number of terms, the 100 here, and divide by 2 to find the number of pairs. So the 50 there came from here, which is n number of terms divided by 2. So that corresponds to n over 2. So now we have a formula. It's just n over 2 times the sum of the first and the last term. And for the last term, I can use either L, or I can use this formula for the nth term. Okay. So having worked through this and you know and start thinking about having thought about each of these numbers as using the symbols A, D, and N and L. Let me just quickly describe the steps again, this time using just symbols. Remember that we have already obtained the formula, so I'm just going to repeat the derivation one more time, just to show the steps more directly. Okay, so let's start again. I have an AP. The first term is A, second term is A plus D, third term is A plus 2D, and so on. And if I have n terms, then the last term is A plus n minus 1 D, which I also call L. Okay, and to get the sum, I'm going to let the sum to n terms. I want to get the sum to n terms. I'm going to represent that by the symbol as n. And I can also represent this by the summation notation, which I described a few videos ago. So if you remember what the summation notation is, we use the symbol sigma. And we use a formula for the general term. So in this case, let's say the rth term would be A plus r minus 1 times D. And then we put the starting value of r at the bottom. In this case, that would be 1. So at the bottom, I write r equals to 1. And we put the number of terms, or the maximum value for r, at the top. In this case, the symbol n. So this represents the same thing as this, or just the sum of this. And as I described just now, we can find the sum if you notice that each time we add the first, each time we pair them up, right? When we pair up the first and the last, or the second and the second last, we always get the same answer. So all I need is to take the first and the last terms, add them up, and then multiply by the number of pairs, which would just be the total number of terms divided by 2. So there we are. I've just obtained this formula by doing by describing the steps using just the symbols. Okay, but you have already seen how it worked with the numbers when I added 1 to 100. Okay, so hopefully this description is not too abstract. Basically, I'm just describing the same thing using the symbols. Okay, and let me now write down another form of this sum. I've written it as A plus L, but L is the last term. But as I have described, L is actually a plus n minus 1 times d. So I can use this in place of L to get another formula, or another form of the formula. A plus L would be this, which is a plus n minus 1 d. So that's pretty much it, except that I could simplify a little bit more by adding the a to the a. That gives n over 2a plus n minus 1